here we are, another episode of On the Delo. This is 169. It's so immature.
It's impressive. It's impressive.
Oh, thank you. So I have the real Rick Doyle. It's not the fake one,
no,
right?
Sir. No, sir.
It's very cool.
Yes.
So funny story. Well, not really funny, just interesting story. We both have a mutual friend, yes. Michael. He owns Base Theory Training, which if you are a woman and you're single and you're looking for some dude with aesthetically pleasing, go follow him on Instagram.
100%.
Like he needs another follower. But what's ironic about it is that we were going out for pizza. Right, yes. We went to Spinato's, and that's where I met you in the booth there. And then we all shared like 3 pizzas, I think it was. And then we went to it was the Light. So I met you around Christmas time.
Yeah. He makes like a big spectacle of. He loves Christmas time.
Yeah.
So every year it's like this thing where he'll invite friends out, and it's like, let's go have pizza and watch the lights, and then those cookies.
Oh,
that's Burnout.
That's right, the Christmas
Ridiculous.
cookies, really good.
Ridiculous.
So Michael, if you were listening, because I'll share this with you, grateful for the introduction, and here we are in June, finally getting to this. So thank you for coming on. I want to kind of let people know, so as I get into these podcasts and I start having more interesting guests, and yes, I sell insurance for a living, and I do a lot of it, and I'm specifically in hospitality. And what's funny is this is my second podcast today. So the podcast prior to this was 168. It was on Freet Street. My friend Gabe came in and he was giving me this shirt about French fries. So my podcasts are, all over the place, but they're here for the listening audience, which is growing, which is amazing. I guess 169 in, people kind of get used to my voice.
For sure.
It's to bring some added value in all contexts of life. And as people know, I have the Built Different Mastermind with Jeremy Scott. It's a free community for people to get involved with, and we're launching a bunch of products on that as well. But I think finances and financial smartness and all of these things that you and I had talked about at dinner.
Yes.
And even prior to this, I think it's important for people to get all different aspects of life on it. And you're not very old. How old are you?
I'll actually be 37.
You're 37,
September.
right? Yeah, dude, I'm 51, so I'm fucking old compared to your
youngest. We're just in our stride. That's all that is, Delo.
But here's what I love is that you are a 37-year-old that is dialed in, and I went on your TikTok. You have how many on TikTok?
150. It'll be 156,000.
That's pretty good, dude. And you're a 37-year-old talking about, all sorts of really cool stocks and, finances and all these things. And so obviously you have 150,000 people on one platform alone that, that listen or engage in doing that sort of thing. And so I think it's always good to bring a guest in and have them tell their story of how they got here, why they're here, and then some added value that they can bring on. So let's talk about the backstory. What were you doing before all of this?
So I am from Chicago originally. I got my degree as a mechanic. My dad was a mechanic. I figured I'll just follow in the footsteps, and I was working for BMW in Chicago, and I didn't like it at all. So I'm 23 years old. I got a college degree. I'm working 40 hours doing something that I just absolutely despise. And I had this, I describe it as a coming to Jesus moment. There's no other way to really say it. It was, I just felt lost at 23 and had no idea what I wanted to do. So luckily I had a really good friend of mine that lived in Flagstaff. And I went to visit him, and he was an entrepreneur. He owned his own business, marketing business, and he was really successful with it. So when I took this trip out to Arizona, it was like this brand new culture, this brand new way of thinking. It was almost like all possibilities had opened up to me.
Yeah.
So I decided that if I was going to create something for myself, I had to get around a new circle of influence, which I think is huge when it comes to business building and entrepreneurship.
Especially at 23.
Yeah.
You're just discovering yourself.
Exactly. So then I learned a little bit about marketing and business being around that avenue, and actually did build business with him. And that went really well for about 5 years or so. But it was a direct sales company.
That was all up in Flagstaff?
No. We were building it in Flagstaff, but the company is based in Tempe.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So but you could do direct sales anywhere. So we were primarily based in Flagstaff. But it was a direct sales company, and the company ended up not doing well. So after 5 years, that was gone completely. And then I was trying to figure out, you now have business and marketing experience, and you do kind of like cars, so what can you make of this? And that's when I got into detailing, where I met Michael. Didn't know a lot about detailing at all. I just knew that I liked cars, and I had a general idea about how to build a business. But with that came a lot more learning, and I was thankful to have run into Michael, because he took me under his wing and was like, I'll teach you everything you need to know. So I built that business for about 3 years or so, really well with that one. Went from, the everyday grocery getters to now we're dealing with collector cars and things along those lines. And then...
Was this a business you started you were just on your own, going out and detailing?
Yeah.
And so Michael had his own detailing gig and you had yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so mine was completely mobile at that time.
Okay.
So I got to a spot where it was getting ready to scale. I was going to have to bring on help, and I was going to have to get a storefront and all that stuff, brick and mortar.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, is this what you want? Because when you commit to something like that, you're committing. You're getting buildings, you're training people, you're in new tax brackets, all sorts of different stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought about it, and I was like, I just don't know if I'm really in this thing 100%. So I sold the business off, actually. And when I sold the business, something interesting happened. I went broke within 3 or 4 months. And I was thinking to myself, how is it that somebody can build a business, scale it as well as I did, from basically making no money to now detailing for collector cars and auctions, and now you sell the business and you're broke again? How does that work? And so I'm a very introspective type person. So I went internal, and I was like, why does this keep happening? Why do you keep finding yourself in this position of broke and not knowing how money works? And so I really just grabbed the bull by the horns, and I was like, I got to figure this money thing out. This is the most important thing. There's goals I have. Obviously, I want to be able to support a family, go on vacation, do things that my old childhood wouldn't allow me to do. So I started reading everything I could on finance. And the more I read, the more I became fascinated with it. All the concepts, all interest rates, how does investing work, what's a stock, all these things. And as I'm learning this stuff, I'm realizing, I'm talking to friends about it because I'm super excited. And they're like, what is this guy talking about right now? This is so boring. Nobody really understood it. Yeah. So I decided that I was going to just make content on what I was learning. And it was not for anybody. It was really just for me. It was this idea that as I learn, I want to go back, kind of like a journal, and go, I remember learning that. Smart. And so I just recorded it and would put it out on social media, YouTube. This is before TikTok got big. Yeah. And just kind of did it every single day. And now that's led to a space where we have 160,000 members across all platforms, and we teach concepts about how money actually works. Because what I've noticed in my finance journey is the biggest thing that's missing from our society is financial education. Period. Doesn't matter if you have somebody who's barely making ends meet or you have people who are worth multi-million dollars. A lot of people don't know how it works. And so why not be a part of the solution rather than a part of the problem? Because a lot of the things that we face in today's society, I believe, can be fixed if we just address financial education.
Educate, yeah.
Exactly. So that's what the whole business is built on. That's what the social media is built on.
Do you feel like the crowd that resonates with you is specific to, say, your avatar, or is it all over the place?
It's all over the place. I've actually dug into the analytics, and I have people from all over the world, in every age demographic. I'm finding now, when it comes to investing, a lot more people that are interested in that are going to be the 20 to 30-somethings. But I guess it just depends on the topic, but my analytics are all over the place.
Yeah. And do you think that the complication or the I don't know. I think people get possibly scared to talk about money or learn about it.
100%. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. That's why what I've created is a community where it's it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say, I don't know what I don't know. It's okay to say I'm $50,000 in debt and I don't know how I'm going to get out of it. If you want something different, you have to do something different. But in order to do that, you're going to have to get uncomfortable and you're going to have to start asking questions. So what this community has done is it's created a safe space for people that have no idea how any of this stuff works, to come in and get plugged in with other people that are like-minded that say, bro, I've been in your position. I know how to get there, right? Like, and they have the encouragement. They have the resources. They have the people that have been in the finance industry like myself and there's 8 finance experts in my community.
Wow.
So regardless if you're talking to me or somebody else who may be an expert in, real estate investing or paying off debt or whatever, you always have somebody in the community that you can lean on and go, hey, here's a question I have. And so I think that's what I've really tried to foster with my community is this sense of like, even me, like, do I know a fair bit? Yeah, I've been in finance for 10 years, but for me to sit here and say I know everything about everything would be the most ignorant thing I could say. I'm always constantly learning stuff too. So if the leader thinks that and he allows other people to do the same thing, that's like, hey, we're always constantly learning and growing and we're doing it together, that creates a lot more transparency and it creates a lot more openness, if you will.
No, so when you say, okay, so you basically sell your business, you go broke, and then there's probably some lag time in between for you to just kind of be like, what am I going to do, right? But then you go on this financial journey, really for yourself. You start documenting it. How did the whole aspect of the community come together, and then how do you build it? How do you find other people to come be a part of it, and then how do you get people to actually want to come in and engage without them feeling they're getting scammed or some stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. So I think for me it started, and you can relate to this, I got my life insurance license. That was one of the first things I did because I obviously need to start making money in finance, right? So I started self-studying and got my life insurance license to write annuities.
Series 6 and all that.
I didn't do the series licenses, no.
Okay.
I was just able to write like annuities and then any sort of life insurance products. Now, I was self-employed at that time. So everything, my leads, everything was on me.
Yeah.
And at that time, to be honest with you, totally chasing money. And I was making good money, but at the same time, being all these expenses, are you really making it? You know? So it was this big, huge undertaking. But what I was noticing is as I was meeting with, I did my best to write as many annuities as I could. When I was sitting with people that were getting close to retirement age, it seemed like I had to consistently break the news that you're not ready for this.
Yeah.
Based on all the financials I've gathered, like you are probably going to have to work another 3 or 4 years. And to deliver that news was not something I like to do. But what I noticed is the reason why that was happening was financial education. It was just they were under this assumption that, hey, I got this 401k, I'm going to keep contributing to it.
At this age.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to be fine. And it wasn't fine. It wasn't fine. So I did the self-employment route for a little bit, and I was barely making it still because of all the overhead. So then I saw that this financial education thing was a serious issue, and then I got a call from actually a major institution, Wells Fargo. And they called me and they said, hey, we have this new position opening up. And I've always kind of been like iffy about banks for my own personal reasons, but I found it interesting because the position that they had opening up was to educate high school and college kids on how money actually works. They're like, we don't want to give them products.
Okay.
We don't want to extend debt to them. We want you to go in there and be a consultant to them to say, hey, get as much free money as you possibly can, because obviously if you can get school paid for, you're set up wealth-wise, for the rest of your life pretty much. So that was a great job. That was fantastic. That was my first introduction to actual, banking.
You felt like you were giving something to somebody.
100%.
You were helping,
100%.
as opposed to being like, hey, go getting all this debt so you have no money to make deposits in the bank.
Exactly. Like I felt like I was actually making a difference.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit, and they shut that part of the business down.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Along with like 1,000 of their branches and every grocery store and everywhere else.
That type of stuff. Now, during that time that I was doing student loans, I was also recording content. So I still hadn't really thought too much about the business aspect of things.
Yeah. I
was just more so, I'm documenting what I'm learning. I'll give this back so I can impact more people. And then after COVID, I was moved into a banking role where I was actually in a branch and I was sitting with clients and kind of helping them with financial goals because I had a lot of experience in finance at that point. And what was interesting was I still continued to make content every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day, because that's my passion was helping.
Well, how the hell, like, do you just kind of look at the news and see what's going on and make content based on that? 'Cause that's
or
a lot.
changes that are going on.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of internal documents in banks that changes are going on, right? So I would just basically say, hey, this is some of the stuff. And you couldn't say what bank it was that was giving this, but it was kind of like, hey, here's where banking is going. I'm letting you know this to prepare you.
And you have a nice personality, and I'm sure it's relatively easier to digest for people when they see it that way, to be educated as opposed to reading some news feed and trying to get to the cusp of what's really going on.
Right, and that's the stuff that interests me anyway. So why not just read that and
give it to them in bites?
Give it to them, yeah. So I still continue to make content every single day, and then probably I was 2 or 3 years into making content, and Wells found out that I was making content. And they did a big review. It was a 2-month review on my social media. And after 2 months, they came out and they said, you have to choose. You either have to give up social media and continue to work for us, or you have to quit with us and continue to do social media. Whoa. And at this time, I think I had like 90,000 followers or something like that.
They didn't try to kill you?
Here's what's interesting. Like, so being a marketing person, I actually try to negotiate with them.
Yeah.
So I'm meeting with HR on these Zoom calls, and I'm like, you guys, I never plugged them a single time. Never talked bad about them, never talked about any product.
That's why they were looking at your shit, to make sure that their name wasn't in there.
Well, that's
so
exactly
there's nothing they could do other than make you choose. They couldn't fire your ass.
Right. So basically, I gave them one last chance, and I said, hey, I have access to 90,000 people. It'd be very simple for me to start plugging your products, start plugging this. Like, I'll do it for free. Yeah. No problem. And they go, no, we're not going to do it. So at that point, I had to make a choice. It was very similar to, I look at it like my detail business. Are you all in with this business? Because your income's gone. Like, it's gone overnight.
Well, yeah, you may have 90,000 people, but you haven't monetized it yet.
100%.
Right.
So at that point, again, God spoke to me and said, this is what you want. You want to help people. I will take care of you. Just take the leap. And I took the leap. And I've been doing social media, and now I've built the community as well. So the community is a paid membership community. It's a monthly subscription.
Is that the circle, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do people get into the circle?
So yeah, it is a Facebook group. It is less than Starbucks. So it's $9.99 a month, and it gives them access to stock calls every Wednesday. We do live trainings every Tuesday. Yeah. And then they can ask any questions they have on anything related to finance. So we have 8 different finance experts in there. Some of them are financial advisors. You have tax professionals in there. You have debt specialists in there. You have credit repair experts, real estate investors, really anything that somebody would want to learn. Yeah. They pay a monthly subscription, and they can ask as many questions as they want to and get basically real-time answers from people that are in the industry. So the way I thought about it was, being from the banking world, if you go talk to a financial advisor, they're going to charge you, 3% of whatever you're investing? Why do that to people? Like, if the mission really is to help people win financially, we as experts, all of the experts that I've gathered in this community should already know how money works. Mm-hmm. So us making money off the backs of people in the community should not even be a thought. We should already know how all this stuff works. So that was kind of my premise of it, is like, get experts who genuinely want to help and make this something affordable for everybody, where they won't have to give 3% of your total investment portfolio.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. I've never had I think some people, great if that's your thing. I just had always been self-taught. I'm still an idiot, right? But I Vanguard everything myself, and I just buy the ETFs and just the real simple shit, right? Because it's kind of, this is what's really ironic. I was on your feed, obviously doing some research for the podcast, and the Psychology of Money, I just finished reading it. Great book. I saw you just you were just toting it or looking at it. Yeah. And I was like, dude, it's so simple. And I heard him on a podcast as well. I think he was on the same podcast I was telling you about, this other one. And it was so simple. And the dude is that simple. He's like, I have a house. I have, a couple of mutual funds, and that's it. I don't even look back, and I think a lot of us get in this trouble or this game of always, me included, where we're like squirrel, like, oh, I'm going to get that stock. I'm going to buy this investment. I'm going to invest in this business. And we're just like, we're no better off?
Well, I think the issue comes in, and this is for the vast majority of people, and I fell into this too, is that money gets complicated. There's all these concepts
we make it
complicated,
complicated,
but it's really not.
Yeah.
Like, building wealth is very simple. It's literally just staying disciplined, saving as much money as you can, and investing it. That's it.
People are impatient.
So have your money work for you. And it's like, the key to wealth is very simple. It is. I break it down to 3 steps, and I talk about them all the time in the community. It's pay yourself first, right? Which means pay off your debt, start investing, stay disciplined, and invest consistently. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, if you just do that consistently, you're going to watch your wealth go up and up and up.
So like, you're a 25-year-old kid right now, and you're investing whatever, $100 a month into your, to a 2060, Vanguard fund that has all these sorts of things. Don't get discouraged because you're 28 and it's, not $3 million yet. Because what you're doing, in my opinion, is you're looking for the long haul for like when you're 70, and then the compound, you can't see it. That's the one thing I've noticed, is like, you just can't see it in the moment, but it's happening.
Well, and I think, especially when you're dealing with 20-somethings, we live in a society of instant gratification.
Yeah.
So it's like, what I'm saying is opposite of that. You're not going to get instant gratification, but I can guarantee wealth if you just continue to invest over and over again. So you might not see it right off the bat, but if you just continue on that same path, the numbers are going to be in your favor.
For sure.
But it's just a matter of staying patient, staying disciplined, and knowing that this is the direction, this is the vision, this is where we're going. It's a non-negotiable. I'm going to get there. So I think if you can break money down as simple as you possibly can, it takes out all the rest of the noise, because that's where we live in a society of noise. So how do you cut that noise out?
Yeah, and if you're making $1.10 off of $1 consecutively, it doesn't mean that you failed because you're not making $2, right?
Well, that's another thing too, and that's something I talk about in the community, is you have to count your small wins.
Yeah.
Because the fact of the matter is, I've studied a little bit of psychology, and we're basically a sum of all of our thoughts and experiences up until this point, right? So if you want something different, you have to do something different. That means changing how you think as well, right? So it's like, if you don't believe that you can win in investing, you have to change that switch from I don't believe I can win to I can win. Now, what that means is you can't believe you're going to get a big win. It's not even possible for you to do that. But do you believe you can get a small win? Like a 10 cents if you invest $1. A lot of people would say, yeah, 10 cents, that's awesome, good. Now you're getting your thought process in alignment with that goal you have.
Yeah.
Now you're working with the faculties that God gave you.
Yeah, you got 10 cents more than you had before when you just had the $1.
And that's wealth.
You just keep compounding, right?
And that's wealth. And I think if you can break wealth down to the smallest possible unit, you'll start to see that you're a lot more wealthy than you think you are.
How does wealth come into play with a person's aspect of their actual physical health?
I mean, wealth is everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just financial, right? I mean, health with your mindset, health with your relationships, health with your body, health with how you think about things and view things, right? Like, I think when you talk about wealth, you want to look at it as an all-encompassing thing. And I think that when we look at society as a whole, people look at wealth and say, I need to have X number of dollars to be happy, right?
Yeah.
Well, what you start to learn in finance is, as you start to get more money, you'll start to realize that what it's really about anyways is the healthy relationships you have, the healthy body you have, the fact that you have the free time. And wealth is really this thing that isn't just limited to the financial. It's literally an all-encompassing.
You're not stressed out all the time about certain
100%.
decisions that you made. And I'm sure you probably get into this, and a lot of people talk about this all the time, especially Dave Ramsey, if people know and have listened to that.
Yeah.
But it's like, buying the overexpensive car, maxing yourself out on credit cards, doing all those things. I mean, is that kind of duh, or is that still going on?
I think it's still going on, but that is a cause of the traumas that somebody experienced beforehand. So like a lot of times people buy things to fill a void, and that void may be, I need to feel good about myself, or I'm going to buy this thing because this person left
I deserve
me,
it.
or subconsciously, something is going on in most cases that makes people feel like they need this thing in order to be fulfilled. But this is going to be kind of led astray a little bit, but Dan Bilzerian, you've heard of Dan Bilzerian.
Yeah.
He said something in this one interview that stuck out to me big time when I first started getting into finance. He said, people believe that money is going to help you basically stay happy. He goes, there's an issue with that. He goes, when you have all the money in the world and you can buy whatever you want, the problem is at a certain point, you can't buy the newest stuff anymore. He goes, I'll give you an example. If I go out tomorrow and the newest Lamborghini comes out, right, I'm going to buy the newest Lamborghini and I'm going to drive it. I'm going to love it for 2 weeks. And then I'm going to get bored of it after 2 weeks. And then what am I going to do? There's not another Lamborghini. There's nothing. So he basically what he was trying to say is he's like, money doesn't buy happiness. Everybody thinks it does.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's this idea of more security, but the security comes from within. It doesn't come from anything external.
I think Joe Rogan said it the best when I was listening to one of his, and he said it multiple times. If you can go out to dinner and not even worry about the bill and be comfortable, and it's not, impeding on your finances, you're wealthy.
100%. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I agree. I think that he's spot on with that. We are in a society where people feel like everybody wants to be wealthy, right? And everybody needs to have a lot of money, but that's just not true. It's like some people are happy, taking an extra vacation a year. Some people are happy sending their kids to private school.
Yeah.
Some people are happy if they can take a couple extra days off, and it's like wealth is different for every person. So it's not necessarily, and it's what we're talking about, it's not necessarily always limited to just money. Money is just something that's kind of a means to help you create more of the life that you want to create.
Yeah, no, it's a valid point. And when you look at like the world as a whole, and I don't know how much in detail you get into like other markets or other portions of the world, but would you say that in America we're pretty, I don't want to say spoiled, but we're pretty fortunate to have the means to be able, most of us compared to the rest of the world?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely. If you look, I think in America, everything's so in our face. I mean, technologies, we were just talking about AI, right, before we came in here, right? I mean, you have the U.S. who's leading in AI, and then you have China who's leading in AI. But if you're a country like, I don't know,
Beckelstan.
Something, right. Something like that. You could say AI to them, and they're going to be like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Meanwhile, we pull out our phones, and Siri's listening to us, right? And Amazon's showing us dog food because we just talked about dog food. And it's like, this is what we're conditioned to as Americans. And I think because we're conditioned to it, we take it for granted. But if you look at these other countries, like, they're nowhere close to what we have.
No, they're not. And when you talk about, let's just talk about AI real quick, because we were talking about it. You do believe, like I do, as we were talking about, that this is probably the next, big explosion of stock investing, right?
100%.
Because of what's coming up.
Yeah. I think that we are on the cusp of probably the biggest opportunity in investing. And I would say it's already going on. Yeah. Definitely.
Interesting. So as far as the circle goes and people get in, has that now, it's been going on for years, I would assume. You started this?
I actually started it May of last year. So
May of last year?
Yeah.
Okay, so you just over your year anniversary. And exactly. Is this like a business that's good, like is generating for you? And,
Yeah, so far. So we actually, after I get out of here, I'm going to go check out an event space too.
Nice.
We're going to actually start doing it in person because a lot of what we've done has been all online.
Yeah.
So to make it more real, I want to make it something that people can actually come, attend, learn things, and then also get in a group with other people.
Good to know.
They're going to be well summits.
Okay.
So,
I love that. Yeah. It's all that stuff is fun, and I think there's a need from it, especially from a personality like yourself that's very just like calm demeanor, non-douchey, like not, just kind of that sort of that aspect of things. And I think a lot of times it's the suit and tie mentality, Merrill Lynch, whatever, no offense, but like,
100%.
It's like, whoa, you can do this on your own. Here's a very laid back way of doing it. And I think that's when you and I were talking. I know when you and I were talking over pizza and just kind of going into this stuff, I was really intrigued with your knowledge and your self-learning of all that. So
yeah, I mean, it's something that fascinates me, to be honest. I don't want to be known as the guy that I don't want to do the Lamborghini, the Ferrari things.
Right.
That's just, all that stuff's false. Like, it's just, I'm trying to sell you on something that I'm really not that interested in.
Dude,
like,
bro,
for me, I want to create full transparency. So like, even on my content, I'll let people know when I've taken a loss in investing.
Yeah.
Like it's not lollipops and gumdrops. Like, it's like I am very humble to the point where I know that I don't know what I don't know. Like, I'm always learning something. So for me, it's like I want people to see the entire journey. I'm somebody who I'm wearing Chucks right now, and I think my Chucks are like 4 years old, and they have rips in them, and I'm like, I love these things.
You love them, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
you're so right. I bought a Porsche. I don't know, last year ago. It was like whatever. No, it was like over a year ago, and. Just like the story you just told, I was like, after 6 months, I was like, I don't even like this car anymore. Like, what am I doing? I'm driving on the freeway. I'm being too careful. I'm like worried about rocks hitting it. Yeah. I look like a middle-aged white woman that's drinking white wine in Scottsdale. And I was just like, I was so mad. And then I got so excited when I got my, still a nice car, don't get me wrong, Toyota 4Runner, the new one. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so much better. I don't have to worry about, how much dirt I get in it. And I can go to the mountain. And so it's just, it's kind of wild how that is. And I wear Converse every day, you know?
I'm driving a 2011 BMW 6-speed. Yeah. With 180,000 miles on it.
And you love it.
I love it. Oh my God, yeah. And I live right across the street from the Ferrari dealership. So I'd much rather have my BMW. Like, right. You know what I mean?
It's like, okay, those are nice, but
well, the thing for me is it's like I look at what can I do with that money.
Yeah.
Like it's a total mindset shift, and I've noticed the change within myself because being a car guy, I would always have 2 or 3 cars at a time, always, when I was growing up. Yeah. I had an opportunity last year, actually, to buy a second car because I do a lot of camping and I want to do like more off-roading and things like that, but I drive a sports car right now. And I had this cash come in, and I'm like, I could buy this car right now, and I could have 2 cars like I'm used to. And then I'm like, but I need to build a business. And so I reinvested immediately. And so it's like, it's cool to notice that change within yourself too. Of like, I remember that young kid being like, oh, I could be responsible and, invest this or, build my business or whatever, or I can buy a car and get the instant gratification. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's the shift that I'm talking about. That's been years in the making for me though. That's like the mindset before does not match the mindset of today. It's totally different.
I think discipline is the absence of choices. If you think, 100%. There's so many choices out there, and whether that's your diet, I mean, guilty, right? Oh, there's cakes here. It's just like if I don't have those choices, I'm so disciplined. I am anyway. But it's just funny. That's a good perspective. So let me ask you, as far as your daily routines and your daily practices, like what are your non-negotiables every day that you have to do?
My non-negotiables every day are I have to at least monitor the markets. I always wake up, see what's going on, although this market is crazy right now. Yeah. Trump is, every time he comes out and says something, the market is doing one of these. So it's very interesting to try to keep up with it. The next thing is I have to monitor my portfolio, right? Because there's sometimes that you're going to have to change some things around. So I actually am very like in the trenches of like, here's what segment's doing good, here's what segment's not doing good. So I'm always constantly monitoring that and making changes if I need to. Luckily, I haven't had to recently, but another non-negotiable, content every day. Okay. There's always something going on financially that I feel like people need to know and how to navigate it, especially with the tariffs. Yeah. I mean, the tariffs have left a lot of people going, what's going to happen? Like, is the stock market going to crash? Like, is America in trouble? That type of deal. So I like to try to stay out in front of that. So that's probably one of the first things I do in the morning is that. Yeah.
And what do you do as far as like a de-stressor to get away from all that?
What I try to do and what I actually do is different. So I try to go out and go camping as much as I can. Okay. I actually like to get away from the noise. Yeah. Because as much as I love making content, as much as I love, interacting with my audience, at the same time it can be overwhelming too because it's this constant like everybody has a lot of questions and I want to be able to give as much as I possibly can, but there's only so much energy that you have at the end of the day too. Yeah. So just like getting out and going camping or going out for a run.
I bet you have Starlink, don't you?
No.
No, you don't.
No, I should.
You go camping with that. See, you still create content.
Yeah, but I think that's the reason why I like going camping though. Is it's like take me off the grid so I don't have cell phone service.
That's funny. Yeah. Okay, so before we wrap up and I go into rapid fire, I just wanted to get your perspective on your thoughts on like what are like a couple of the biggest money mistakes that you feel that people make.
Ooh, over leveraging.
Okay.
I would say is probably the biggest one. Taking out loans for things that either A, you don't need, or B, you didn't need to take a loan out in the first place. The next biggest one I would say is budgeting. I mean, this is something that I will harp on forever.
Yeah.
If you have not sat down and made a budget, that is the number one step before you do anything else. If you're thinking about buying a house, you got to know how much house you can afford.
Yeah.
If you want to start investing, you got to know how much money can I start investing, right? And then the last one I would say is just not being afraid to start. I think that's the biggest thing that holds people back is the fear of, well, what happens if I lose this?
Right.
And it's a legitimate fear, but I think as long as you're investing into something safe, like we talked about index funds or mutual funds or ARC that you're looking at, very safe overall. So if you just start with an amount that you're comfortable with. So what I always say to people is, if you're a Starbucks drinker, sacrifice Starbucks for one day. What is it, $5 to $7? Put that $5 to $7 in the stock market and just watch it. See what happens.
Yeah.
And if you put it into something like an index funds average between 8 and 12% a year. So you're pretty much guaranteed to make money. So what that's going to do is it's going to start building confidence that, oh, wait, I just sacrificed 1 cup of coffee and now my money's making me money. And it starts that ball and that momentum going of, oh, I am better at investing than I thought I was. And then slowly that fear starts to subside. So I would say those 3 things.
I like the aspect of fear, and I think that's a big one. Most people are just fearful of the unknown in that essence, or losing everything. Yeah. Unless you're a gambler, and then you just don't give a shit.
Oh, well, those are the crypto players for sure. Those are people that it's like, let's go play the meme coins.
Yeah, that's definitely gambling at this point, but who knows, right?
Exactly.
All right, rapid fire. Money or fame?
Money. Definitely money.
Yeah.
I could help a lot of people with that.
Cold or hot?
Hot.
Yeah, because you came from Chicago, so
I don't want to see snow anymore.
You ain't going back.
I don't want to see snow anymore.
The S&P or the Dow?
S&P.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like QQQ.
QQQ is really good.
Holy crap! I got into it when it was like 230.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. QQQ it's solid. They're actually doing the best of pretty much all of the index funds.
Yeah.
Year over year. Yeah.
I bought SPY too.
SPY's good.
I did.
Yeah.
Chicken or pizza?
Pizza.
Church or meditation?
Meditation. Meditation for sure.
Cows or horses?
Horses.
Dude, you quick at this. Music or audiobook?
Oh, this one's tough. I think it depends on mood, but if I have to say one or the other, I would go audiobook.
Okay. Loch Ness Monster or the Wolfman?
Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah, Loch Ness.
Do you believe it's real?
Cool. Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Or it was at one time.
Yeah.
Batman or Superman?
Batman, for sure.
9 Inch Nails or Johnny Cash?
Oh, I would say Johnny Cash, for sure.
Yeah,
legend,
cool.
absolute legend.
Dude, that's awesome. All right, I'm going to have all this in show notes. Where can everybody find you, and whatever you want to share to end this up?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm on all major socials at The Real Rick Doyle. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can find me there, as well as YouTube. We're making long form and short form content, and I'm just somebody who's transparent. I like to answer as many questions as I can because at the end of the day, it's about the individual and getting you where you want to be. So
that's awesome. I'm going to have you actually in our mastermind community too. I think you'd be a great asset if you're up for it.
Yeah.
So we have that, the Built Different Mastermind, and don't be a cheap ass. Join his circle. I mean, 100%. For God's sake, a cup of coffee, right?
Yeah.
You don't need all that sugar anyways, and nobody likes Starbucks.
Not wrong.
Yeah,
Not
right?
wrong.
I don't know. Some people like it. Whatever you like. Doesn't matter. So, no, dude.
I like their dividend. They got a solid dividend.
That is true. Dividends are good. But, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. I know it took a while. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you get a chance, just 5-star, leave it a review. It helps out. And, yeah, I sell insurance, but I also like to talk about a lot of other stuff. So, until next time, peace out.